Of these developments is Yehuda Shaffer, former Deputy State Attorney, Financial Crime Unit, Israeli Ministry of Justice, and quite a bit coming out from this hearing today. I mean, first of all, who do you think gained the sort of upper hand in terms of the dates and the conditions set?
Well, I think Netanyahu's tactics was to stall more. I think the court made it clear that the court means business, and the hearing will be held efficiently. They set dates for September, October, and November for the preliminary hearings regarding disclosure issues, regarding preliminary claims that any side might have, and then the actual trial will begin in January. And they said it will be a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trial. There will be 3 days a week, constantly, which will be extremely challenging for Mr. Netanyahu. Right,
he actually wanted it more spaced out, or his attorneys did. And speaking of his attorneys, there was an issue with them in the court today.
Well, it seemed like there was some kind of stalling tactic, because unlike the other lawyers in the room, Alowich's lawyers,
the lawyers for the other defendants in this case,
who seem to be knowing the material already made some claims regarding the transliteration and transcription of things, and they were going into claiming various claims which were showing they're already in the material. Netanyahu's lawyers, one of them remains, but one was fired, and one appeared as or resigned, and one appeared as a new lawyer, Mr. Segev, and he began claiming that he doesn't read the material, and he needs to read the material, and he wants a few months, and the court said no. And then he said, well, we can't have this trial with masks, with corona masks on our faces, because we won't be able to see if the witnesses are telling the truth. And the courts were looking at him and saying, well, what do you mean? We hear criminal trials here every day. What are you talking about? So it seemed like Netanyahu, I think,
maybe on the old Perry Mason shows, you wouldn't be able to tell whether somebody is telling the truth.
It's actually a very interesting claim by Netanyahu's lawyer, because until now, it's a change, a shift in his claim, because until now Netanyahu has said that there's nothing criminal here, it's no case to answer, or there's nothing really here. Now what he's saying is suddenly there is something, and it all depends on the he said which witness we are going to believe, which is a shift in the way Netanyahu is looking at things. I was actually surprised to hear that he put so much weight on the credibility of the witnesses, because until now he was saying no matter what the witnesses say, oh, this is nonsense. Even if it's all true, it's nonsense. You're chasing
the very basis of the case, that even if they said he asked for better media coverage, that's not true. Yeah. That's not a crime. Yeah. Now he's saying
it all depends on, take off the masks, because it all depends on if the witnesses are telling the truth or not, which is a sort of shift in the way it's a new lawyer, so maybe he's not maybe he's changing the legal angle. In any case, it clearly is. It seemed like the Netanyahu's lawyers were not ready today.
But let me ask you about Netanyahu has had already now over literally years to prepare. Is this just confusion or disorganization, or maybe is it a deliberate strategy by the prime minister just again to say, I need more time, you have to give me more time?
Well, I think it is a stalling tactic. I think Netanyahu has a claim, I'm sure he believes this, that it's unjust what was done to him in not allowing him to retain lawyers and to get donations and to get money, presents from some millionaires.
I want to give a little background. This was Prime Minister Netanyahu wanted foreign donors.
Exactly.
One of them, who's actually a witness in the trial, in the bribery trial, to actually donate money, and the courts, the Attorney General.
Well, actually, there's a committee at the Comptroller General's office that stopped this, and he feels unjust. I can see his point of view, that he feels this is unjust, but he's a very rich, wealthy man, so there's nothing really avoiding it. If he really believed in his innocence, which I'm sure he does, but if he really wants to take this trial seriously, there's nothing that prevents him from taking some of his own money, getting the best lawyers, and fighting it.
But can I ask you, Yehuda, could one tactic also be here, that in raising the issue of how can we believe the witnesses with these face masks and my lawyers, that he's setting the grounds for an appeal to a higher court?
Of course, but there's another very interesting implication of today's decision, because the court did decide that once the trial begins in next January, it will be heard on a daily basis. From day to day, week to week, which will definitely raise the legal issue of Netanyahu's capability to continue to be prime minister. Because so far the issue was, can Netanyahu be a prime minister when he has indictments against him? That's a question that was decided by the court, and the law is very clear on that. But the law has a different clause, which says that if the prime minister is incapable or unable to conduct, like what happened to Sharon when he was suddenly recently had a stroke,
right,
etc. So there's a whole. Of course, there's very different situations, but there is a clause in the law that says that if a prime minister is unable physically to act as prime minister, a whole procedure begins but
the procedure where, in the parliament or in the Supreme Court?
Well, this will go to court for sure.
To the Supreme Court.
But and it seems to me absolutely impossible. This is my view, that a prime minister of a country like Israel, or any country, but definitely a country like Israel, can actually be running the defense, the corona, whatever there is to run in this country as a prime minister, and be 3 days a week in
three consecutive days of the week
every single week for months.
And they have said that he must be in court for those
they have not said that, and they might even let him not come to some of the. But the law says that the defendant should be in the courtroom, and I'm sure he will be required to be many of those. So this will be a very interesting question when January comes.
All right. Well, we certainly have a lot to look forward to there, certainly. And,
well, not looking forward. This is
not looking forward, but certainly Prime Minister Netanyahu.
As we've said before, this is not a joyful moment at all for anybody, Netanyahu's supporters or opponents. But it is a great moment for Israelis' rule of law, where it's beginning to look like more and more like Netanyahu is going to be treated like every defendant, and this is going to be the trial. It's going to be a real trial.
All right. Well, something his supporters also argue against, but we'll get into it another time. Yehuda Shaffer, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.